pleasant good morning to you. It is Wednesday, May 4th. I'm Shane Seeley, and this is the CBC Morning Report. More and more Barbadians are now seeking professional help with setting their career and life goals. That's what we're hearing, and instead of going the journey alone, they're going that extra mile to seek the assistance from life coaches. Cara Seeley is the founder of Impact Coaching, and she's been seeing that greater demand for her services, especially during this COVID-19 pandemic. Cara joins me live now here on the Morning Report to give me more details on what she's been seeing and what requests are being made of her. Cara, good morning and welcome to the Morning Report.
Good morning, Shane. Good morning. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for your time. Talk to us about what you've been seeing, this surge in demand for life coaching over the last 2 years or so.
Well, Shane, I must say this pandemic has been an unprecedented event, and none of us were really prepared for what came with that. So, because of that, persons have been reconsidering their options. They've been thinking about what is most important to them in their lives. And as a result, they've been seeking out guidance and support on how to make any necessary transitions that would see them having a more fulfilled life. It would see them having more peace, more contentment. And I must attribute it to the challenges that we've been facing over these past 24 months or so.
Do you find it's like they're at the end of their rope? Is it the when they feel that they're most down that they're seeking this assistance, or are they doing it just before? At what stage are they coming for this level of help?
It's actually quite the opposite from my experience thus far. Persons are feeling as though they're not tapping into their potential. When I speak to my clients and I do their first discovery call with them, they always say, I'm feeling like there's much more within me to give. And it comes with a shift in terms of priorities. So they are recognizing that what they've been doing thus far has been surface level, or they felt like it wasn't really going deep enough in terms of what they know they can give to this world. And because of that shift in mindset, because of that shift in their priorities, they simply want to do more. I wouldn't say that they are coming when they're at rock bottom, but they're coming when they're ready. When I look at coaching is really for those individuals who are ready to propel themselves to the next step, who are ready to move forward, who are ready to give more than they've been given. I find it to be a bit different to therapy for those persons who may be experiencing deep trauma or life challenges. I would encourage them to reach out to a therapist or a mental health professional to support them on that journey. But thus far, everyone that I've been speaking to are persons that are psyched, totally excited about doing a lot more in their lives.
Do you think that more people, how do you think more people should sign on to this kind of coaching that you do? I mean, it's good for business, yes, for you, but in terms of developing themselves and wanting to push their career or entrepreneurial goals, how do you help them with that specifically? And do you see it as a need across the board for individuals, whether employees or entrepreneurs?
Most definitely. And I love the first part of that question, whether I think they should sign on more. And I say this from personal experience. You and I have interacted over the years, Shane, whether in different capacities as an HR professional, whether I was a labor management advisor, an author, and today as a professional coach. And I could not have made it this far without the support that I had in my life over the years. I've had several mentors, several quasi coaches, because I understood that for me to be able to achieve my maximum potential, I need the guidance of those persons that would have had the experiences or that simply have a different perspective. So I really do believe in the importance of mentorship and coaching so that we can get out of our own head and have that accountability partner. which leads me into the second part of your question in terms of how can I provide that support. I am really an accountability partner. Because when you think about it, persons have so many different goals, so many different dreams, and so many different skill sets. And of course, I am one person, and I am not skilled or I'm not an expert in all of these areas. But what I am trained in, what I am qualified to do, is to tap into what they already have within them, ask a unique set of questions, listen intuitively to what they're saying, try to create a pathway that they can see themselves actually following through on, and providing that support mechanism and that accountability framework to make sure that they get the results. So most definitely, it's not just about business, but it's about seeing persons be their best selves, seeing persons be whole, seeing persons become fulfilled. I am living a fulfilled life right now, and this is simply my contribution back to society and to this world to help persons do that as well.
Well, Kara, congratulations. I know you have something special for those looking for this type of life coaching coming up. Tell us quickly a bit about it.
Sure, thank you so much for that opportunity. So on Sunday, I cannot remember the exact date, I believe that is May 8th, but on Sunday, I am actually launching my third group coaching program for 2022, and it is called Accelerate. So this particular program is focused on persons who wish to get results, who wish to accelerate their goals, who wish to demand growth from themselves. And I'm really passionate about that. One of the fun facts about me is that I just keep going. There's never an end in sight, because I know that I have a lot to give to society. And this program is specifically geared towards those persons who want to do a lot more with what they currently have. So it starts on Sunday, May 8th, and it would be for every Sunday in May, starting from this Sunday, 1 hour. And of course, you can always find the details at www.impactcoachinternational so that you can get registered. We have limited spots available because I want to ensure that I'm able to have an impactful session. After all, it's about impact.
Yes, you're doing a great service for so many, getting people not only back on track, but helping them to propel and excel in their career and in their lives in general. Thank you, Cara, for spending some time with me. I have to keep reminding myself that you're now Cara Boyce instead of my last name, Cara Seeley. But congrats on everything that you're doing. Cara Boyce, she is the founder of Impact Coaching, speaking to me right here live on the Morning Report. We'll take a break here. We got a lot more news coming your way, both on the COVID-19 front, and we'll check in with the latest in Russia and Ukraine. Three new cases of COVID-19 have been detected at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. The news comes after 13 cases were diagnosed the last week, forcing the closure of 3 wards. The executive chairman there, Juliet Bino Sutherland, says officials at the Martindale's Road Institution, led by Dr. the Most Honorable Corey Ford, are working around the clock to keep a handle on this situation.
We are still on high alert at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. Although we have been successful in bringing last week's outbreak under control and have reopened wards C5, C6 and B5, we had 3 cases reported on B7 yesterday. So we're therefore redoubling our efforts at mitigation and compliance with COVID protocols, and we continue to ask our staff, our inpatients and outpatients, and visitors for compliance with our guidelines.
Meanwhile, we hear that Barbados' COVID-19 death toll has reached the grim 400 mark. This after the passing of a 91-year-old woman who died on Sunday and May 1st and a 77-year-old man who passed away yesterday. Both were unvaccinated. Meanwhile, the Best dos Santos Public Health Laboratory identified 334 COVID-19 cases from 928 tests conducted on Monday. 266 of those cases are individuals 18 years and older. There were 104 people in isolation facilities, while 3,250 people were in home isolation. 151,992 people have been fully vaccinated against COVID-19 here in Barbados. Bahamians have been told the country's economy, which took a hit from the COVID-19 pandemic, could be fully recovered by next year. The update was provided by the governor of the central bank there, John Roll, during the latest quarterly economic briefing.
There continues to be a strong momentum of recovery in the Bahamian economy from the restrictive conditions of the COVID-19 pandemic. This reflects the stabilized and improved conditions in the major source markets for tourism that has supported the revival of international travel.
Governor Rolls says the rebound of the tourism industry isn't the only reason the economy is bouncing back quicker than predicted. He says sustained contributions from foreign investments is providing healthy stimulus to the construction sector.
It is expected that the economy could be fully recovered over the course of next year, that is 2023, possibly slightly ahead of the projections made at the end of 2021. That said, there continues to be a distinction between recovery from the low point of the pandemic, for which the fall-off in the economy was quite drastic, and the still very mild annual growth projections that lie beyond the recovery phase.
Health officials over in Grenada now continue to advocate for the use of COVID-19 protocols as active cases on the island have been growing gradually over the past few weeks. We have a report from GBN.
The general public is constantly reminded to protect themselves despite the need for normalcy. Chief Medical Officer Sean Charles, in his latest appearance at the government post-cabinet briefing, reminds Grenadians to continue to wear their mask and practice other personal protective protocols. He says this is not a time to be laid back and relax, as the virus is very much alive.
We want the Grenadian public in particular to be aware that cases locally will increase as a result of low adherence to the public health preventive measures and the increase in the number of social interactions that are presently occurring. Now, the mandate was removed, meaning that by law, you do not need to do it, or you do not have to do it, or you will not be penalized for not doing it. It does not mean that you have to abandon it, because it is important that you practice these prevention measures to protect your own self.
Let's go to the international scene now, where the first convoy of civilians to escape from a steel plant in the Russian-occupied Mariupol has reached the relative safety of a Ukraine-controlled city as Russian forces launched a new assault on the site. The United Nations confirmed 127 civilians evacuated from the besieged plant, and a nearby town arrived yesterday.
They've been through weeks of untold horrors in the bunkers and tunnels of the Azov-style steelworks in Mariupol. This is the first group of evacuees to make the perilous journey from Russian-controlled territory to the Ukrainian-controlled city of Zaporizhia in a Red Cross and United Nations convoy.
You don't understand how terrible it was. You sit in the bomb shelter in a wet basement and everything is shaking like that. And then when we could go up to the surface, I saw it for the second time in a month, a huge crater, 15 meters wide and who knows how deep.
Yes, the military did share things with us, but it was the Azov battalion, so you can imagine what they said. We were told that nobody needed us. We felt abandoned, that we were nothing.
For the past month, supplies of food and water have been severely rationed, adults going hungry for days to keep their children fed. This is a moment of huge relief. Russia said some evacuees have been taken to a village controlled by Moscow-backed separatists and would be allowed to travel to Ukrainian-held territory if they wanted. But fears are growing for those left behind in the confines of the steelworks. Soon after the departure of the first evacuees, Russian-backed forces resumed their assault, firing rockets towards the plant. The mayor of Mariupol says 200 civilians still remain trapped inside, including several dozen small children. It's the last remaining area of the city not under Russian control, and the last refuge for hundreds of Ukrainian troops who refuse to surrender. The rest of Mariupol is in ruins, but around 100,000 people remain living amongst the rubble. Tatiana Bushlanova no longer flinches at the sound of exploding shells.
You wake up in the morning and you cry. You cry in the evening. I don't know where to go. I am not alone here. Imagine, everything is destroyed. Where should the people go now? Here they are, sitting with small kids.
In the west of Ukraine, Russia's launched renewed attacks on the port city of Odessa, where Ukrainian officials say a missile hit a children's dormitory, killing a 14-year-old boy. Missiles also struck a logistics centre used to deliver foreign weaponry. Russia so far failed to land troops in the city by sea, but seizing Odessa would give Russia control of the whole of Ukraine's Black Sea coast.
We'll keep you updated on what's happening in Ukraine. Now let's go over to Wendy to find out what's happening on the Wednesday edition of Morning Barbados. Wendy, over to you.
Well, good morning to you, Shane, and good morning to our viewers. And may the 4th be with all of us. Well, today we are going to be getting to talk to an author who helps us to examine the fact that young people experience anxiety. So she explains to us how a 6-year-old actually copes with anxiety. This is something a number of parents would be concerned about. We're also going to be talking to Nudge. Dawn Lisa Calendar Smith and Tamara Gibson will be along this morning, and they're talking entrepreneurship. We're looking at what our businesses within the region are doing through this Nudge event. And Shane, we're also going to be having the Heart and Stroke a little later on to tell us how we have been making ourselves sick with the foods and the drinks that we consume. So these stories and more ahead.
Yeah, we got to do better as far as that is concerned. A better diet and some more exercise. And get your water in. We'll take a break here, but when we come back, we'll have some news about crop over. You'll find out about those final routes and some final decisions made for the big events. Revelers for Grand Kadooment 2022 will have one route, while there will be two routes for a 4-day morning. The final decisions on the routes and protocols were made after consultation with stakeholders, the Ministry of Health and Culture, along with a sign-off by Cabinet. Wendy Burt reports.
On July 30th, with some 16 registered 4-day morning bands, will throng two routes, one in the east and one in the south. First, from King George V Memorial Park to Lucas Street and into Bushy Park, and the other from Searles Christ Church to the Lowlands Roundabout and back to Searles. The announcement has come from Chair of the National Cultural Foundation, Dr. Jasmine Babb, and Chief Executive Officer Carol Roberts-Reefer at the West Terrace headquarters. The CEO explains why the multiple routes option has been shelved.
The St. Lucie route from Farley Hill to Checker Hall was great, and it was very popular. When we actually drove the route in real time at night, we realized that there were large swatches of the route that are actually unlit, which would present a challenge for us to adequately light, given that there are a whole slew of other events over that weekend. And so then when we had our meetings with the police, their advice was to perhaps consider another route.
Spokesman for the 4-day morning collective, Brian Worrell, says while fewer bands are registered, the revelers will still have a good time.
First year getting the subvention, we are very thankful for that. I know everyone was very excited. We know we had multiple routes previously, and we've dwindled those down to maybe just 2 routes now, confirmed. We have 16 bands so far that have come forward and will be participating. Down from the usual number, we usually would have 40 or more, but we have 16 bands right now that are confirmed participating in 4-day morning. And we just want to say that we look forward to participating. It's a new set of routes that we have, but we expect to have the same fantastic time.
As for Grand Kadooment, President of the Barbados Association of Band Leaders and Masqueraders, Anthony Lane, says despite what 2022 holds, the spectacle can still be a drawing card for next year.
It's a little bit short, and when I say short in terms of time, we have for August 1st, but it is still, in my opinion, time enough that we can execute and make this festival as good as we possibly can. As I've said to all of our members, which is about 14 bands that should be coming, that we will still produce the best possible costumes for 2022, because this is our stepping stone for 2023.
Some other good news for all those involved is the negative rapid antigen test is now valid for 48 hours. It's either that or be fully vaccinated to be in the band. The regular nose swabbing has been a concern for some stakeholders, and Rudy Maloney of the Entertainment Association of Barbados welcomes the change. Wendy Burke, CBC News.
Thank you so much, Wendy. Let's get some sports in here now. Barbados' top female surfer, Chelsea Tuac, finished 5th at the recent Gold Coast WSL QS 1000 Open Surf Pro in Australia. It was her final warm-up event ahead of the 2022 Challenger Series, which kicks off Saturday at Snapper Rocks in Australia. Chelsea surfed her way into the quarterfinals, where she met Kobe Enright of Australia, but found it tough, posting a total of 1.55 to lose to Enright, who registered a score of 7.25. Tuac is the only Barbadian to qualify for their Challenger Series, which is open to the top 10 males and top 8 females from the North American region. Or Anne-Marie Burke has more.
Barbados' top surfer Chelsea Tuac couldn't ask for a better ending to her 2021-2022 qualifying series season, not only winning the WSL 3000 Super Bowl Pro right here in Barbados, but ending with a ranking of 3rd in the North American region. Chelsea started her competitive season at the WSL 1000 WRV Outer Banks Pro in North Carolina back in early September, where she made it to the quarterfinals and ended 5th overall. She then competed at the WSL 3000 Nissan Supergirl Surf Pro held at Oceanside, California, which featured 88 of the world's best surfers, and she battled from the round of 64 and again made it all the way to the quarterfinals, winning all of her heats along the way. In mid-November, she again traveled to the U.S. to compete in the WSL 3000 Jacksonville Supergirl Surf Pro, which saw her with another 5th place finished.
And as mentioned before, the final event of the season right here in Barbados, the WSL 3000 Super Bowl Pro, was her biggest highlight as she won all of her heats on her way to claiming the title. Twak is currently in Australia training with her coach and testing out new equipment to ensure that she is ready to perform at her best and compete against the world's elite surfers. And she said she's very excited to be competing in the Challenger Series once again this year and to return to the first full season of competition since March of 2020. She added that it was also an honor to see the Barbadian flag flying next to the flags of the world's top surfing nations. The Challenger Series is the ultimate battleground for surfers to showcase their talents and qualify for the Elite Championship Tour, and features the world's top 96 men and 64 women from the 5 WSL regions: North America, South America, Australasia, Europe, and Africa. After its start on the Gold Coast of Australia on May the 7th, it then moves to Sydney before changing continents, heading to South Africa in June and then to the US in early August. Surfers will then head to Europe for the EDP Vista Pro in Irícia, Portugal in early October, followed by the Roxy Pro France in southwest France in mid-October. The tour then stops in Brazil in early November before wrapping up in Hawaii in early December. Anne-Marie Burke, CBC Sports.
And that's sports this morning. Time to take a look at what's happening with weather. It's 25.5 degrees Celsius on the outside. It's cloudy and slightly hazy. It's feeling like, well, we don't have that apparent temperature this morning, but around that 26 degree Celsius mark. But it will be getting warmer very soon, as you know. The relative humidity stands at 81%, the barometric pressure 1014.5 millibars, and those winds are coming out of the east at 32 kilometers per hour. We'll see a high tide later on in the evening at 25 minutes to 7. The low tide will be late tonight at 11:30. Those seas are smooth to moderate in open water. Swells are between 1 and 2 meters and increasing. Today in Barbados, we'll have a mix of sunshine and clouds with a few brief scattered light showers. And tonight, it will be partly cloudy with a few brief isolated light showers. And that's it for the Wednesday edition of the CBC Morning Report. I'm Shane Seeley. I'll see you at 7 with headline news. Up next is Wendy Burke with Mornin Barbados.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning, Barbados, good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning, 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 morning. Good morning to you. Good morning, morning Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning, morning Barbados. Good morning. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Morning to you.
And it's Wednesday morning. It's a lot brighter outside today, and we're thankful for that. Now, let's dub today Wisdom Wednesday. Think about your actions, your words today, and try not to hurt anyone with them. Well, it's also Wednesday the 4th, so for all you Trekkie fans, may the 4th be with you. Now, this morning, we're going to be dealing with a new book. Yes, it's called Noah's Big Move, How Noah Dealt with Anxiety. Now, it's something I guess some of us take for granted, but children can suffer from anxiety as well. And Saran Gibson, the author of this book, is along to tell us about how this little one has coped with anxiety, given a monumental change in his life. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning, Saran. Now, You yourself are a parent and your child also happens to suffer from anxiety and you're constantly learning about its management. How can your book help us as parents deal with children with anxiety and help them to cope in life?
So like you said, it's something that we don't usually think about, right? Until we are in that situation. And for me, that's what happened. So I wrote the book as a way to help us as parents help our children. There's things that I learned that I incorporated into the book. So it's a story as well as a guide with our children. There's some interactive parts after the story that you can go through with your children. They get to list affirmations. They get to write who the persons they're safe talking to, what causes their anxiety, and stuff like that.
Okay, so let's have a précis of the book and what its storyline deals with.
Okay, yeah, I could actually show you. So this is the book here, and my favorite part, like I said, is the interactive pages. So you can have, they can list the things that cause their anxiety, the persons they are, they feel safe talking to. And the book is about a 6-year-old boy. His name is Noah. And for the whole of his life, he grew up in this small town. So he is comfortable where he is. He has his friends, his family there. And his dad received a promotion at work. So now with this promotion, Noah has to move to the big city, and that triggers his anxiety. But at his age, he doesn't know what it is. He just knows he's having these feelings and he's scared. So he talks to his friends, he talks to his parents, and his parents help to guide him in things that he can do to help manage that anxiety. So they recommend deep breathing. They recommend him writing his feelings down, using his imagination to control situations he's in.
Okay.
And that way when he gets to the city, he is, he's able to help himself cope better.
Well, that's awesome. Now, in terms of the book, where can we as parents find it?
It is available on Amazon right now. So if you go to Amazon.com, you can search Noah's Big Move, and you will find it on there.
Okay. Now, outside of writing, you also do a bit online in terms of podcasting to help parents
Yes.
with other matters that they would have, the parent lobby. Why did you start it, and what are some of the main topics you address?
So we address everything parenting, because as a parent, every day isn't something new, We think we know, but we really don't. It's really trial and error as a parent. So I started the parent lobby as a way for us to communicate as parents, give each other ideas of what you go through as a parent. That way, say for instance, it's me and someone else, I can list, okay, I was in this situation and I did this, and someone else may say, oh, I did that this way. And if we put in a third person now, they can try my way, and if my way doesn't work, then they can go to the other person and try that way, and that way may work for them. Because yeah, parenting is trial and error. Every day we are faced with situations where we're like, oh, what do I do here? What do I do when my child is going through this? Has anyone ever been in this situation? Can someone help me in this situation?
Okay, so parents are communicating with each other so we can plot a smoother path in our children's development. Now, outside of that, the parent lobby also looks at aiding other parents in terms of donations and the like. Tell me about that aspect.
So what we try to do is, well, me personally, I believe everyone should have their basic needs met, right? So what I try to do is help parents. So if they're in need of something, we would try to find them resources that can help them. Or if we have something we could try to send out, whether it be clothes, food, whatever it is that they may need in that time. If they need help with a bill, we can try to find referrals or resources that would help them.
Okay. Now, outside of Noah's big move, are you looking to write any other children's books?
Yeah, I actually started book 2, so that's coming along.
Okay,
hopefully
and that's
later this year.
And what will the focus be?
So the focus on that, it actually came from one of my best friends. He has a nephew by the name of Dylan. So Dylan and his sister Allison, they are building their own garden with their mom. And it's actually going to be focused on a single parent family. Because sometimes you don't see that a lot portrayed. So I just want to show that single parent families is a thing, and that it works as well.
I'm glad you added that part, that it works as well, because we tend to take it as a negative, as if, oh, single parenthood has created all the problems in a society. But there are actually some single units, you know, which cope quite well in terms of being able to handle children and keep them on the straight and narrow. Now, the interesting part about the children jotting down what their feelings are, where they feel safe, etc. That's quite interesting, especially in terms of a 6-year-old, you know, which is the level Noah's at. Because children generally don't like to tell you, or and now we're expecting them to write it out. But can they really understand fully how to get it on paper at that young age?
So what I've learned is they may not know the correct words, but they can write it in their own ways. It's something I do with my son. I'm like, hey, tell me how you're feeling. If you don't, try writing. And I even bought him a little journal to where he can write how he's feeling. And then if he decides to show me, I can look at it and be like, okay, well, let's talk about these feelings and what they really are. That's why I made it to where the parents and the child, you know, can do it together, so that you can help your child understand what those feelings are.
Do you think there's a need for that, a lot more interaction? I mean, we all as parents live very busy lives, and everybody can't have what, you know, we see presented as a fairy tale type model where both mom and dad find time for TV, time for book reading, time for leisure. It's a lot in terms of the world of parenting and life in general. So what tips would the parent lobby give to those who find themselves inundated with other stressors to help with the management of the child, so they don't pass those stressors on to the children?
I would say find the time. Like, try to, okay, we have bedtime. It's a perfect time for you to spend time with your child. There's dinner time. Sit at the table, eat, ask them about their day. If you're in a situation where you pick up your child from school, I pick up my son, and every day he gets in the car. Hey, tell me about school. What did you guys do today? How was lunch? Who did you sit with? So I'm pretty busy too. I work full time. I do the parent lobby. I go to school. So the times that I have with him, I make that us time. On the weekends, we try to watch movies together. He comes sometimes, hey, mommy, Friday, can we play games after you get off work? So you have to try to incorporate the time where you can as a busy parent. Like you said, it is hard, but wherever you can fit that time in, try to do it, because it also helps with the relationship with your child. They get comfortable with you. If you are distant, then they're going to pull back. So you have to try to mold that relationship so they're comfortable coming to you with anything. Like, I've gotten to the point with my son now where he comes, and if I do something that he doesn't like, he lets me know, and he doesn't fear getting in trouble for it, you know? So I think we have to try to make the time to mold the relationships with our children.
Okay, finally, before we go, in terms of the management of the anxiety, does it need to go as far as having to have professional help for our children?
It depends. For me personally, my son sees a therapist, and it is the best decision that I ever made because he's gotten so much better. I, for one, recommend therapy because sometimes there's instances where we can look at ourselves. We may not feel comfortable talking to those around us, so we can use that therapy as an outlet or counseling as an outlet to voice our feelings. And for me, why I did that is because there was a time when he wasn't comfortable talking to me, but I knew something needed to be done. So I put him into therapy, and he actually loves it. He loves therapy. So I really say it depends. If you are in a situation where your child isn't comfortable talking to you, if they shut down, if you see certain behaviors, I do recommend you seeking that professional help.
Okay, quickly tell me where I can log on for the Parent Lobby, and when will the next podcast be?
So the Parent Lobby, you can find that www.theparentlobby.com. Our Instagram is @theparentlobby. And the next podcast, I am looking to do 3 episodes this month. Not sure when because my summer classes start in like 2 weeks, but I'll try to get in like 3 episodes or so this month.
Okay.
We also have like discussions. There's a group online as well. So you could join the group and we have like discussions where we talk about different topics.
I want to thank you so much, Saran Gibson, the author of Noah's Big Move, How Noah Dealt with Anxiety. And best of luck to you with your second book.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Now, when we come back, we'll be telling you about the Nudge Now event. We'll be back in a bit.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Good morning to you.
For me, Micro is Mighty is an affirmation that each individual brand has a story behind it. Every single product has a person behind it. Every single service has a provider who has a story behind it. And so how do we bring those stories to the forefront? How do we reflect the value really and truly? You know, we're sort of a mirror for that mightiness.
Nudge is a platform where we are supporting small businesses to achieve their potential.
And we're back. We're going to be talking about Nudge Now. It's an event that's coming up for entrepreneurs, and Dawn Lisa Calendar Smith happens to be the local coordinator, and Tamara Gibson, she is the founder of Native Caribbean Limited, and they will be featured at this event. Good morning to you, ladies.
Good morning, Wendy. Good morning, Tamara.
Now,
how are you?
We're all well this morning. Now let's get straight to it. We're talking about an event on Thursday, tomorrow, the 5th, and it's titled Nudge Now. You're going to be showcasing how small businesses have been transforming their communities and supporting with the support of social enterprise. Now, you're going to be a part of it, Tamara. What does that mean for you? How is it helping your business at this stage?
Well, thank you for having me here this morning. So Nudge is actually an interesting space for micro entrepreneurs like myself. It gives us the opportunity to be in larger spaces that just generally would not have access to, or access to as easier or as easily as bigger companies. Nudge actually literally puts us in the Maxi supermarket chain. And exposes us to, just big amount of people, a lot more than our socials reach than we reach on our own. And so we're very grateful as entrepreneurs in the program for that.
Okay. Dawn Lisa, as coordinator, you are taking them in Barbados, in Trinidad, St. Lucia. The numbers are going to spread. Tell us how you're wrapping it all together.
Well, I'm so happy to be here, and Nudge is a platform that has been in Barbados. July would actually be a full year. It was started in 2018 with a conversation with Anya Young. The name sounds familiar because she's a Trinidadian lady who won Project Runway. Anya is herself an entrepreneur, and she was passionate about opening up a space for entrepreneurs that was just not talk, a space that gave entrepreneurs a platform to grow. And what's very important to Annie, she always tell you, not just about listening to what our entrepreneurs need. So in context of Barbados, I try to explain, think of Nudge similar to like a fund access or entrepreneurship scheme, but with regional reach. We are in Trinidad, we are in St. Lucia, we're here in Barbados, and we have the support and the help of the Massey stores and the Caribbean Development Bank. And what that gives, it opens opportunity for our members to have access to grants, access to training, something we've been working on really, really hard. So our Nudge Now event coming tomorrow is launching that platform fully, and it's opening itself up for other entrepreneurs to join us, because I am on the hunt for entrepreneurs, and I actually have a cohort starting tomorrow in Massey, Sunset Crest and Warren, featuring Native as one of our entrepreneurs that will be there, along with 12 others. So we are excited, we are ready, and we're open to help to grow micro businesses in Barbados and the entire Caribbean.
What format is the event taking?
The format itself is a live, kind of like how we're here, is a live event featuring some of our entrepreneurs. We're featuring Tamara here in Barbados. We're featuring one of our entrepreneurs from St. Lucia. Also on the call, very important, Mr. Gervais Warner, who is the president and CEO of the Massey Group of Companies. He will be there. Massey's team has been fantastic. They've not only assisted us with space in a Massey store, you understand what it is to have space in a Massey store, but they're also helping some of our entrepreneurs with coaching. That's what we're really talking about tomorrow, the opportunity to learn the business of retail, learn about coaching. Also, there's Julie Avey. Julie is co-founder of Nudge. She is actually the VP of Massey's people. She's kind of like their overall HR manager. She and Anya got together and created Nudge because they understood what the needs of our entrepreneurs in the Caribbean are. So Julie will also be there, and of course Anya herself. And this is an open call to entrepreneurs to learn about Nudge and learn about how you can join the Nudge family and benefit from some of the available grants. And more important, it's not just about money, because some of our entrepreneurs don't need money. They need training, they need coaching, they need help. How you can access that platform through Nudge.
Okay. Now, if I can come back to you now, Tamara, in terms of the event and being a part of it and having your product there, how do you see it helping in terms of your growth and development, not only in terms of product reach, but in terms of molding you into a better entrepreneur?
Well, what I certainly appreciate for, I think I alluded to that in the previous question, was the market. So Native, we have our own shop here in Pelican Village, and most of the advertising is done through social media. So like the Facebook, and you can find us on Facebook at Native Caribbean, or you can find us on Instagram at Native Candles. But being inside Massey puts you in front of a whole other market that may not be present on the socials. That's one way it helps. The other way in which it helps is it gives me, and I certainly think the other entrepreneurs, an opportunity to be able to produce more. We know what is happening now with COVID-19, and since COVID-19, there's now the war in the Ukraine, and it puts a strain on supply chains all over the world. There was a point in time where we couldn't even get certain things in the Caribbean. But I think programs like Nudge actually help micro entrepreneurs to kind of, have their opportunity to contribute to solving that kind of problem, where we have more things being created here and we have a place to distribute them. So I think that those are two really good ways in which the Nudge Now program kind of helps you to get prepared for, being a serious supplier.
Okay. Now, Don Lisa, we're hearing from Tamara about her candles and other scented products. Who are the other 11, and what's the range of product like?
Wide. We actually are featuring a mixed cohort this time around, because we've had two separate groups of entrepreneurs who have been part of Nudge in Barbados since we launched. So we'll be featuring Honey Child, Home and Body by Rose, Waist Beads, Barbados, Katori's, also on the shelf with the Own Way apparel with her fabulous t-shirts with her signs on her different Barbadian sayings on them. Also, we're going to have on the booth, I'm going through all of them, I had Lock Muse for all the natural sisters who want their lock jewelry. Lock Muse will be there. Azure Gourmet will be there. They have their men's soaps and men's lines. They will also be featured on the booth with the Stones Barbados. Stones with her beautiful JB with her crystal. She will also be on the booth. We have quite a range of entrepreneurs. We actually are a social enterprise, and we really take social serious, because if you got here also in terms of a large social media presence. So we really invite people to go on our Instagram page and our Facebook page. You will see all of our entrepreneurs featured there. We're going to have the full listing as they're featured at Sunset Crest and Massey starting this weekend. All of our entrepreneurs. We have a range from t-shirts to shoes and bags to bath and beauty products. They're all available, and they're going to be in the Massey stores. And we are on the hunt. I'm serious. I'm on the hunt for a cohort of entrepreneurs. You will be able to find us for the new cohort coming in July. So I'm actually looking to introduce some local food products as well. So we are on the hunt for entrepreneurs. So you will find all of our entrepreneurs on our page, the regional ones as well from Trinidad and St. Lucia. There are over 90 entrepreneurs as part of the program. And so we're on the hunt. So Nudge Now, the event tomorrow, is also an open call for entrepreneurs. And some people may have seen the little pallets, booths or market stalls within the Massey stores. We are going to go to what we're calling corner shops by the end of the year. Those are the gondola ends, and that is one of the bigger things about Nudge. Nudge is helping entrepreneurs to develop their retail aspect, things like barcoding, that process, things like making, developing a larger line, because it's different to being on a market stall, to being on a gondola and a Massey stores. So all those things we'll be talking about in Nudge Now. All those things are opportunities that are available to our entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurs like Tamara And all those things are coming. We'll also be featuring Bespoke Barbados, Okoye by Kim Butcher with her belts. I know she has a show on CBC as well. She's also on our market stalls. So many entrepreneurs, so much to learn, to be a part of. And Nudge is about training, it's about education. Massey, I like to say, is our icing on the cake. That's the storefront, but there's so much more behind it. The micro is mighty, which is our grants program. So all those things are coming, all those things are launching tomorrow, and we really want local entrepreneurs. If you got a dream, if you got a vision, we have the tools to help you make it grow. So we want people to tune into the program so they can find out too about how they can become a part of our nudge, our group.
Well, you need to tell them exactly where they can log on in order to be part of it.
Right. Well, tomorrow, and I like to say tomorrow because we Bajans forget, so I'm going to say this week mess up because of the Monday. So tomorrow, you can join us on Nudge Caribbean, our Facebook page. Look for it on Facebook and IG. I see they have up the poster from 6 to 7. Tomorrow is going to be one of the panelists talking a bit about her entrepreneurship journey, because it's a journey for all of us. And we tell our ambassadors who work the stall, we don't sell products, we sell brands, we sell stories. We love Tamara because Tamara has a great story. I hope she tell you the story about how she started her business. And so it is an opportunity to grow your business, to learn that you are not alone, because sometimes entrepreneurs think that they're alone. And when we get together as a group, we realize we have, no matter whether you're in Barbados, St. Lucia, or Trinidad, we have similar problems. So you have to tune in to our Facebook page tomorrow between 6 and 7 to hear how you can be a part of it, how you can grow from it, how it will benefit your business, because it will benefit your business. I guarantee you will benefit your business. And there are opportunities for more than just being on a storefront. There are grants, there's loans, there's training, there's coaching, and all these things are coming, and that's what Nudge Now is about.
Yes, so we encourage you to take that nudge now, entrepreneurs. Remember, hold on, Lisa, to her words. She says they're looking to start a new cohort in July. So go on down to Sunset Crescent in James and ensure that you not only find out what our entrepreneurs are doing, but if you yourself are an entrepreneur, you can sign up. Well, I want to thank you, Don Lisa. I also want to thank Tamara, and I wish you both an exciting event come tomorrow.
Can I jump in one quick thing? You can actually go to nudgecaribbean.com and register as an entrepreneur. Just go to the Join Us form. So you can do all now. nudgecaribbean.com, go to the Join Us form and register if you're an entrepreneur with a business and want to join the family and learn about it tomorrow as well.
Okay, good information to have there. You ladies have a fantastic Wednesday.
You too.
When Morning Barbados returns, we'll be turning to some more news, but until then, let's take a break.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Pleasant good morning to you again. I'm Shane Seeley with your headline news at 7. The Queen Elizabeth Hospital remains on high alert this morning as 3 new cases of COVID-19 have been detected there. The news comes as 13 cases were diagnosed last week, forcing the closure of 3 wards. Speaking about the situation has been the executive chairman, Juliet Bino Sutherland, and she says officials at the hospital, led by the Most Honorable Dr. Corey Ford, are working around the clock to keep this situation under control.
We are still on high alert at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. Although we have been successful in bringing last week's outbreak under control and have reopened wards C5, C6 and B5, we had 3 cases reported on B7 yesterday. So we're therefore redoubling our efforts at mitigation and compliance with COVID protocols, and we continue to ask our staff, our inpatients and outpatients, and visitors for compliance with our guidelines.
Meanwhile, Barbados' COVID-19 death toll has reached a grim 400 mark. This after the passing of a 91-year-old woman who died on Sunday, May 1st, and a 77-year-old man who passed away yesterday. They were both unvaccinated. Meanwhile, the Best dos Santos Public Health Laboratory identified 334 new cases of COVID-19 from 928 tests conducted on Monday. 266 of those cases were people 18 years and older. There were 104 people in isolation facilities at that time, while 3,250 people were in home isolation. In other news this morning, Barbados says other Caribbean countries are now interested in partnering and deepening bilateral trade with the island, similar to the relationship now forged with Guyana through the recently inked St. Barnabas Accord. The accord, signed by the Barbadian Prime Minister Mia Amor Motley and Guyana's President Dr. Mohamed Irfan Ali, seeks to create one domestic space between our countries in areas across multiple sectors. The Prime Minister's special envoy to the for the Republic of Barbados to Guyana and Suriname, Alfie Wiggins, says countries are monitoring this accord.
This St. Barnabas Accord, I can tell you, have hit the region with speed. Other countries are talking about it. Why don't you get involved in the same kind of agreement with Barbados? But traditionally, we have always had familial and business relationships with Guyana, because I would say that most people seem to think that Guyana is benefiting more from this St. Barnabas Accord than Barbados is, because in terms of exports, we have financial services or human capital. We have limestone, so we have to export limestone to Guyana. But all your plantains and bananas, lovely pineapples, we will be importing those things in huge bulks.
While there are many stories on how COVID-19 and the pandemic has forced many into a state of depression, it appears that more Barbadians are now taking proactive steps to ensure they don't hit rock bottom. That's according to the trend seen by career and life coach Cara Boyce. The founder of Impact Coaching told the Morning Report her clients have been weighing their options in an effort to seek more peace and contentment during what are very tough times.
I wouldn't say that they are coming when they're at rock bottom, but they're coming when they're ready. When I look at coaching is really for those individuals who are ready to propel themselves to the next step, who are ready to move forward, who are ready to give more than they've been given. I find it to be a bit different to therapy for those persons who may be experiencing deep trauma or life challenges. I would encourage them to reach out to a therapist or a mental health professional to support them on that journey. But thus far, everyone that I've been speaking to are persons that are psyched, totally excited about doing a lot more in their lives.
And that's our headline news for this May 4th. I'm Shane Seeley. After the break, it's back to Morning Barbados with Wendy Burke.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
It's time for Spell It with Pediasure. Are you going to spell it in 30 seconds?
And as you heard it, it's time to spell with Pediasure. Yes, it's time for you little ones to win. Can you spell this word? Call me at 228-5562 or 228-5563 and spell for me this morning. Now, Pediasure, the drink that's clinically proven to help little kids grow, serving up a complete and balanced nutrition that little bodies need for their muscle and bone development. Call me this morning, 228-5562, 228-5563, and let's get spelling. Remember, Pediasure comes in a number of flavors, so encourage mom, dad, granny, auntie to go to the supermarket and get you some. It's time to spell with Pediasure, little ones. If you've not already left for school, then you could be in winner's row this morning. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning. How old are you, little one?
I'm 13.
You're 6. Okay. The word 13?
Pardon?
How old did you say you were?
I'm 13.
13. Okay. Your word for the day is bountiful. Bountiful. Starting now.
Bountiful.
You have to go again because I'm not hearing you completely.
Bountiful.
You are indeed correct. Now stay on the line and give your name to our producer, and they can tell you and mommy or daddy exactly how to come and collect your Pediasure. And once your prize is gone, remember to tell them keep buying it for you. Pediasure, a range of tasty options to provide balanced nutrition. There's sure to be one that's right to fit you and your child.
That was Spell It, brought to you in association with Pediasure.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
And we're back. It's time now to talk with the Heart and Stroke Foundation. And we have with us the manager for the Childhood Obesity Prevention Program of the Heart and Stroke Foundation of Barbados, Miss Francine Charles. Now they're starting a mass media campaign. Are we drinking ourselves sick? And she's going to tell us exactly what we'll be dealing with. Good morning to you, Francine.
Morning, Wendy. How are you?
I'm great. What about you?
Doing good, doing good.
Okay, but you're working overtime because all these campaigns trying to fight these NCDs, trying to keep the incidence of obesity down in our children. Because as you know, 8 out of 10 deaths in Barbados are caused by NCDs. And unfortunately, 1 out of every 3 of our children happens to be obese.
Excellent. I'm so glad to hear that everyone is speaking the statistics. Everyone knows what we are dealing with. I think the issue is how do we turn that knowledge into action and into right action that's going to help us to move forward. And so when you talk about working overtime, but I think it's just such a valuable work, and I'm privileged at this point in my life to be part of something that will truly have an effect on the future generations of Barbadians and people across the region. We have an issue. I think Sir Hilary Beckles from the University of the West Indies put it just very well. We have a public health crisis. And the issue is not having a problem with any particular industry or any particular group of people. The problem is that the statistics show, and you gave the medical statistics, the financial statistics for a country that's trying to grow and to become sustainable is staggering. $64 million being spent alone on diabetes and cardiovascular health and that's direct health is a crisis. Having statistics being brought that says this country is losing 375 million Barbados dollars every year, directly and indirectly due to loss of productivity, etc., because of NCDs is staggering. And so you have that crisis. And then you look abroad and you hear from the World Health Organization that the Caribbean has an issue. And the fact of the matter, by I think it's 2030, they're predicting that we probably will have 50% of our children, that's half of our children's population in the region, either being obese or overweight, which has direct links to then coming down with a non-communicable disease, and in most cases more than one. And so we have an issue, and so something has to be done, and that's what I think civil society is pushing, and so happy to see the government of Barbados making absolutely amazing decisions, strong decisions to do something.
And that decision that you're speaking of is to do with the soft drink tax. We're looking at how to eliminate these sugary drinks from the diets of our people, because the question is, are we drinking ourselves sick? Now, how do you intend to roll out the campaign, Francine? Because, that's the quickest thing to pull for, a soft drink, a box juice. But when you look at the label, there's actually lots and lots of sugar that your body doesn't need to be consuming.
Definitely. And I think one of the first things, I think what this mass media campaign does is that it takes the issue and the discussion to the public. We do our work, obviously, lobbying policymakers, but the MMC campaign comes to the public and asks the question directly, are we drinking ourselves sick? And it shows through a young lady called Rosie, the story of how most of us who may still be in that place live, where every minute of the day we are picking up a sugar-sweetened beverage. We are drinking 3 different SSBs a day. Then we go home and we have tea, and we have a lot of sugar in it. And it's just showing us that if we live like this, we are going to have an issue. There's an interesting statistic that I saw that says just one sugary drink a day increases the likelihood of being overweight by 55% for children. And we know we are so accustomed to seeing our children walking to school now, or sitting down at school early in the morning, drinking a number of SSBs before they even start school. And so the campaign will roll out TV discussions like what we are having now. It's going to roll out television ads. It's going to roll out radio discussions and radio advertising, print advertising, and we're going to ramp up even what you're seeing around the nation in terms of billboards, etc., asking the questions and putting the issues forward, and asking ourselves and parents, how many more must die? How many more must be sick? Why spend this on something that's going to make you quite ill and probably lose the loss on the quality of life later on? And so that's what this campaign is intended to do over the next 2 months.
Okay, what about the social media elements and the hashtags that we're being encouraged to use? Tell us about those.
Well, you definitely know that our social media work, especially because of the pandemic, has become quite heightened. So we'll be all over social media. There's no doubt about that. And everything starts today. And so some of the hashtags, the one on my shirt, for example, hashtag protect our children. And we're really encouraging parents and teachers, and even those, who are responsible or involved in the manufacturing of these products. let's do something for our children. Let's protect them. We give a lot of money for different activities and so forth. We're asking for that money to be invested in finding ways to bring those sugar levels down in a way that's going to redound to better health. Another hashtag, we deserve better, because we do, and our children deserve better. We see in different parts of the world now, in developed countries, such being done. I mean, the UK just announced that there will be no advertising of junk food on social media or in their traditional media before 9 p.m. in the evening. We see so many examples of things being done where there's legislation in the states where, those in the supermarkets where they have those ledgers just as you're about to purchase, stacked with all kinds of things that are sweet and right at the level of the children. And those things are being removed. And so we are saying stuff can be done because why can't we have that in the Caribbean? Why don't our children deserve that treatment? Another one is hashtag people before profit.
Now, that's interesting. And that was going to be my next question to you. How can we as a nation get on board and support the campaign? Because we will hear the messages, but there's always more that each individual can do.
Definitely. And so there are a couple of things. We would invite individual members, individuals to join the coalition or to call and give your support. I'll give you two numbers. In fact, I'll just give you one. Call 253-1676 or 437-3312 and tell us, I want to be involved. Is there something I can do? That's one. Another one is a lot of us are close to our policymakers. And the issue that I think has been made across the globe and here in Barbados is that the SSB tax by itself, unless it comes to something like 75% tax, cannot work on its own. And so what you're really looking for are a suite of policies. And we've heard our Minister of Health and Wellness speaking about the school nutrition policy. We want to see that in Child Month. This is Child Month. We want to hear that document has gone before Cabinet and we are going to be implementing it and everybody is going to come on board. And we want parents to start asking more. Google information, come onto our website, hsfbarbados.com, and find more information on how you can help, in your own individual way, in your home to make those steps. And then we want people to start thinking. We don't want to hear anymore, I'm going to still keep drinking my stuff. Think about the fact that what you really are saying is that I just going to make myself sick, man. I am not worth anything. What you really want to sit down and say is there a way for me to make changes? We have made changes in our household. Every day we hear people making changes in their household. Let's start doing something for ourselves. Let's stop being a dependent people upon marketing and what people are saying to us. And let's start thinking about the health of our home, prosperity of our home, the quality of our lives.
Now, the Heart and Stroke, you are doing some excellent work over there, Francine, because we're just out of the front of label warning package, pack warnings, that type of thing. Yes. So now adding this, Are We Drinking Ourselves Sick campaign to that shows that we really want to tackle the incidence of the NCDs head on and keep our children in the weight categories they should be in, as opposed to being grossly overweight at too young an age. Because remember, the children are our future. Go right ahead.
Our future. I just wanted to say that we also don't want to just focus on the size of the children, because that's not always the telling. Sometimes it's just your unhealthy living. You're small no matter what, but you're living. The foods that you're eating, the way your diet is really not healthy. And you too will be stricken by an NCD if you're not careful in a few years. And so the issue is, the obese and overweight child is definitely a red flag. But we also want parents to look just generally at what we are feeding our children. We want to see the school meals represent something that is even more healthy than they're doing a good job, but we want to see an improvement there as well. We want the front of package warning labels. We want that octagonal warning label on the food packages, and I'm just happy to see how Barbados has been a major leader in the region in making these decisions.
Well, best of luck to you with the campaign, Francine. Your youth advocates, of course, are out there championing the fight as well, and your youth gym, the whole lot of it. So here's to a great campaign, and here's to the public logging on and assisting however they can. Do have a great morning.
Thanks a lot, Wendy. All the very best to you.
To you as well. That was Francine Charles, who is the program manager for childhood obesity and prevention with the Heart and Stroke Foundation of Barbados. When we come back, it's going to be time to talk to our doctor.
Morning, morning, morning. Morning. Good morning to you.
And we're back. It's time now for our doctor on the line. This morning, we're going to be talking to Dr. John Barker, the consultant obstetrician and gynecologist. Our topic this morning, the conservative surgical treatment of fibroids. Good morning to you, Doc.
Hi, good morning, Wendy. How are you?
I am great. Now, we're going to be talking fibroids. Let's get straight to it.
Right. Fibroids are essentially benign tumors found in the uterus. It can occur in up to 70% of women, and usually more common in African or Caribbean women or Black people. You can see them in Asian people as well, but they're not as common in Caucasians. Sometimes they can be cancerous in 1 to 5 in every 1,000 women. So sometimes if you have like a rapidly growing fibroid, then usually the gynecologist might get worried and do an ultrasound or CT scan just to make sure that there isn't any issues in terms of what we call the sarcoma.
Okay, now why is the prevalence in Caribbean women? I always wonder about that. Why do we, our nation, which is predominantly Black, why is it that this condition bothers so many of our women?
It's usually genetic, but the problem is I saw endemic, and it's usually in Black people in terms of the epidemiology of it, but there's no particular reason as to say, well, this is where you get fibroids, but you usually put it as usually genetic predisposition.
All right, how do they present?
Right, usually sometimes they can be asymptomatic, meaning that you don't get any symptoms at all. And then you only realize you have it by incidental finding, like if you get an examination of your tummy and you feel a mass, or sometimes you do an ultrasound scan which will show a fibroid. Sometimes the most common is heavy menstrual bleeding. That's the most usual cause, like if you get heavy periods, or sometimes you can get uncontrolled bleeding, or sometimes you can get pressure symptoms, meaning that you don't get any heavy bleeding or anything, but what you get is like pressure on your bladder and stuff. So you actually go to the toilet a lot. So you have to decide if the person has a intrinsic bladder problem, or if it is something pressing on the bladder that lets them go to the bathroom, or sometimes they can just feel a heavy mass in your tummy.
Can, if a lady notices that the tummy is protruding more than, say, how the usual bloating of the cycle happens, is that a flag that maybe should perhaps check out?
Yeah, if a patient is bloating, you gotta decide if it's a gastrointestinal problem or if it's a gynecological problem. So usually the most common gastrointestinal problem that I would see would be irritable bowel syndrome, and usually the patient will complain of bloating, constipation, and or diarrhea at the same time. And then we have to determine if it is only at the time of the period or if it's throughout the month. If it's an older person with bloating, like menopausal, the next thing we gotta make sure is that they don't have an ovarian cyst, because sometimes ovarian cancer can present with bloating or change in habitus. But in a younger person, if the tummy is protruded, then essentially what we do is do a clinical examination and then do an ultrasound scan to see exactly in terms of gynecological causes if there's fibroids, because sometimes the fibroids in young people can get very big.
Okay, and that's a bit scary. Now, how do I know when I need surgery for these fibroids? Because there's some people who say, oh, mine is small, so I'm not going to bother to touch it, or it doesn't impact on my cycle so much, or I've learned to grow with it.
Yes. All right. So essentially, and most fibroids over 3 centimeters might need treatment. So usually what we say is anything between 1 to 2 to 3 centimeters, you can watch and repeat the ultrasound scan within 6 months to a year to see if they're getting any bigger. The issue is that sometimes you can treat them conservatively, and then by the time the patient comes back to you, you got some huge fibroids, and that's when the clinical management would change. So the reason why you would need surgical intervention is if the medical management change, like the hormone tablets, or sometimes you can give Mirena coil, or if you have potential fertility issues, or sometimes you want to preserve your uterus, but then you got these big fibroids there. So then the next question is, how do you treat the fibroids?
Okay, now where do they occur? Because sometimes they, as I said, they can be small, or sometimes they can be huge.
Right, so the uterus has 3 layers. So the surface muscle and inside the uterine cavity. So the 2 pictures shows the fibroids on the surface. On the picture on the left, the 1 to the 12 o'clock, that's like a pedunculated fibroid. And the ones below it at 6, that's a serosive fibroid, which is on the surface. And the one on the right, which looks like a pumpkin, is actually a pedunculated fibroid, which is actually quite a large fibroid, but it's actually attached by a stalk, like a cauliflower, to the uterus. So this is one type. The second type can occur in the muscle, and the picture there that you see, the uterus is quite enlarged. So that's a keyhole view, a laparoscopic view of a fibroid, which is in the muscle itself. So the actual muscle looks big, the actual uterus looks big, and the next one is inside the cavity, and this is what you call a submucosal fibroid. These usually present with bleeding in between your periods or heavy periods, and this is what you call a hysteroscopic view, meaning that you put the camera inside the womb.
Okay, now once you've done all the checks and balances and you know where we're at, how does the treatment process start, and about how long will it take?
Right, so essentially, once medical management has failed, then you have to have a discussion in relation to further management, which should be surgical, and is depending on the age of the patient, conservative management, which would consist of keyhole surgery, which is laparoscopic surgery. Sometimes there's a new technique called laparoscopic assisted myomectomy, which is a hybrid of the traditional open procedure and the laparoscopic route. And this procedure, we are able to tackle bigger fibroids keyhole and get them out through a very small 2-inch incision. There's a traditional open route, which is the making a bikini line cut on the tummy itself, about 10 inches. And then there's the hysteroscopic route, which is trying to get the fibroids in the cavity out through the neck of the womb, and then down through the vagina. So there's no scarring at all. And then there's uterine artery embolization, which is a procedure that the radiologist does. And essentially what they do is block off the blood supply to the actual individual fibroids themselves. So we have to discuss the risk and benefits of all of them in relation to what is the desired outcome. Now, if you compare the outcome with uterine artery embolization and myomectomy has the higher rate of people getting pregnant. So even though you have to counsel the people appropriately, because it also depends when it comes to uterine artery embolization, it depends on which part of the pond you are actually trained. So the Europeans might advise you to do it if you know of all the risks and benefits, which could be small babies or adherent placenta. But the Americans would tell you that, in terms of the North Americans, would say that it would be contraindicated. So it all depends on who you actually talk to, and actually to the level of evidence that they might actually be telling you as well too. Because if you use the old evidence, then you would say no. But if you put everything in balance, then that can be an option as well. But it's to tell the patients in relation to the rate of conceiving the pregnancy after uterine artery embolization.
But even if we can just look at it in terms of the laparoscopic assisted myomectomy, it speaks to a quicker recovery for us as females. And I mean, the patients may already have children, busy lives, etc. So they want to be able to deal with this mass, this pain, this discomfort as quickly as possible.
Yes, please. But the laparoscopic route is always associated with a quicker recovery, usually after a week. Sometimes the patient, when you see them, you can't believe that they had surgery. And this is developed to tackle the bigger fibroids, because they had some issues when we were doing the myomectomies, like keyhole surgery. And they were using a machine called a morcellator to actually, essentially, is to get the big fibroids out, because the morcellator is what crunches up the fibroids. But sometimes, because of the mechanism of how it works, sometimes it can spread seedling fibroids in the tummy. And if the patient had a cancer, the fibroid, but it was unknown at the time, the risk of that was that sometimes it can spread. So that's how the other technique got a bit of popularity, because it's a hybrid technique. So you take out the fibroids laparoscopically, and then you're able to take out the fibroids in total through a small incision. And then also too, you're able to suture the deficit, because remember, if you take a big fibroid out, there's a gap that is left, so you actually have to suture it to close the dead space. So the hybrid technique, the LAM, or laparoscopic assisted myomectomy, deals with that. The picture that you are seeing, this was a lady, 32-year-old lady, and these were the size of her fibroids. So the issue is do you offer her a hysterectomy and she has no chance of conceiving, or do you give her a chance? Even if she gets pregnant, then that's fine. But if she doesn't, at least you give her the chance to get pregnant. So these were massive fibroids done recently.
That's very scary there, Dr. Barker, because to know that you're not pregnant, but you're walking around with a mass inside of you, which probably weighs as much as that baby that you might give birth to.
Correct.
That
was a big one.
Yes, and you're smiling, but I don't know. I guess the individual was smiling after too, because, you know, that's a level of relief. But you mentioned something there, which
Yes.
I think is most critical for women. You noted that she's 32 and she hadn't had children yet. And after an open surgery like that, what's usually the time frame for the healing and before conception should be attempted?
Yeah, usually in terms of healing, by 6 to 8 weeks, essentially most is healed. But sometimes it can say up to 3 months to 2 months, 2 to 3 months. In relation to conceiving, what we would advise any surgery would be a minimum of 6 months, sometimes up to a year. And the reason for this is that if you do the surgery and you breach the cavity, which is the endometrial cavity, sometimes you have a higher risk of uterine rupture. So that's why we like to extend it for a bit to decrease this from happening.
What about, I know it's not on our topic list this morning, but what about when we have the fibroid and the endometriosis? Can you deal with both
Right.
surgeries at once?
Usually about 15. Yes. You do both the surgeries at once because it doesn't make sense going in and seeing the endo and don't treat it. So essentially, what we would do is an excision, depending on where the endometriosis is. The excision is removing the actual endometriosis, and you get at least 13 to 20% of patients with a combination of factors in relation to fibroids and endometriosis as well. So it'll be a double procedure if there's endometriosis as well.
Okay, our last one is the uterine artery embolization. That sounds as though you are zapping off some tubes and blood vessels there in me somewhere somehow.
Yeah. All right. So it's uterine artery embolization as is known in Europe, or uterine fibroid embolization, which is known in the USA and stuff. So essentially, what you do is an outpatient procedure. Not outpatient, but is a day case procedure whereby the radiologist is who does this procedure. And essentially, what they do is enter through one of your veins, and then they track up to the uterus, and then essentially block off the blood supply to the fibroid. And usually, it will stay overnight in relation to um, overnight in the hospital. Now, you usually get good results. Usually, what we say is that you get at least a 50% reduction. So it will work better in smaller fibroids than larger fibroids because they shrink about 50%. And usually, the periods are much better. It is just that the issue would be in relation to the age of the patient, as I was saying before, because when the technique first came out, it was done in people that were older, but then sometimes they got pregnant afterwards. So essentially, at the beginning of the procedure, if you wanted to get pregnant, then it was contraindicated. That was the initial thinking. Now, with the latest European guidelines, which is the RCOG, what they said is that in terms of young people, you have to counsel them about the risk of doing the procedure in relation to doing an open procedure, which is the myomectomy that we talked about, has a higher fertility rate when compared to the embolization, and also to the issues with getting pregnant in relation to small babies and stuff. If after the counseling and the patient still wants to do it, fine, but they have to know these risks before they actually do the procedure. And to reiterate, if you depending on which side of the pond you practice on, you might hear two completely different things, which are not wrong. It's just in relation to which side of the pond you're on.
Understood. US method or UK method. And we know our doctors have been ably trained in both. Well, Dr. Barker, I want to thank you for walking us through that this morning. A couple ladies are probably now touching their tummies and feeling to figure out if that's what it is, but I'm sure maybe one or two of them might be looking you up and finding you. I want to wish you a wonderful Wednesday, and may the 4th be with you.
Thanks a lot. Same to you.
Have a great morning.
You too.
That was Dr. John Barker, the consultant obstetrician and gynecologist, telling us all about fibroids and their management. When we come back, we will be talking crop over. Yes, it has started. The green light has been given. We know where we're going. We'll tell you all about it when we return.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
And welcome back. I want to welcome Mr. Brian Worrell. He is the band owner of Colors Entertainment, but he is also the spokesperson for the collective of 4-day morning bands. Good morning to you, Brian.
Hi, good morning, Wendy. Thanks for having me this morning.
It's a pleasure to have you here. Now the season has started and the NCF has given the green light and the 2 routes. How is it resonating with you band owners?
Well, we have been in discussions with the NCF on the routes for the last couple of months, and we would have started initially with about 4 routes, and after doing some site visits, we had to dwindle those down to the 2 routes that we have now, which are the Bushy Park route, which starts at King George Park, and the second route is the ballpark Searles area that will go around Lowlands route. So those are the 2 routes now that we have dwindled down to.
Okay, now how many bands are there and how is the decision going to be made on which route the bands go?
All right, so usually for 4-day there, we have over 30 bands usually every year, but due to constraints, either financial or otherwise, through the pandemic, we currently have 16 bands that have shown interest. We're not sure if any more will come forward once registration starts, but from the collective that we have now, there are 16 bands confirmed that are going forward for 4-day morning this year. Right now, there's about an even split, 8 and 8 for each location right now.
Okay, and is it too early to say where, because people want to know depending on where they live. So if you were to advise them in terms of making a choice, what would be the best way to know?
It's not really location where you live, it's the band that you follow. So, bands go anywhere, especially for the 4-day type events. They can be anywhere in Barbados, and the revelers normally make it there once they're following their band. So for us, we are using the Bushy Park start point. No, not start point, the King George Park start point, ending at Bushy Park. That's where Colors will be for 2022.
Okay. Now, you were the first out of the block on Saturday to bring your costumes out and launch them. It's a trying time. The pandemic is on. People were concerned about the whole issue of having to be tested, to be in the band, vaccinated, the whole lot of it. How have you been able to settle the fears of some of your regulars?
Well, the first part of it, to be first out for Crop we usually do launch our band pretty early every Crop season, and we were prepared from 2020. Obviously, the pandemic put an end to that, so we were ahead of the game kind of in our preparations then. So we kind of just hit play after the announcement that Crop was on to make sure that we will be early again. And for a year, especially like this year, we want to be early to give persons an opportunity to to have payment plans and not have to spend as much money, in one go in terms of purchasing their costumes. So that was the reason for us coming early to give our patrons a chance to have proper payment plans. In terms of what they feel is like in this type of environment that we're in, it's kind of uncertain. But I have been doing some polling of our members just to find out who would have been interested, before we made the decision to come. And quite a few persons are still interested. We still have quite a large interest from overseas that since we launched the band on Saturday, that we have picked up in terms of the number of persons that have reached out to say that they're coming to Barbados for Crop Over, etc. So I think launching early does give a good platform, for the band to know how it will do later on this Crop Over season.
Okay, now in order to be in a band, we either have to be fully vaccinated or tested. That test has now moved from 24 hours to 48. How has that helped you in terms of the recruitment of your barmen, your other staff, the guys who hold rope? How is that going to be important to you, especially in terms of the cost of testing?
All right, so again, that was another part of the negotiations with the NCF and the Ministry of Culture that we were going through. And the 48 hours prior will give a bit more time, because previously it was 24 hours, and that would have been a short period to get all those members tested. But the 48 hours gives an additional day for us to now have our testing set up. And we're now going to go through the logistics along with the NCF, in terms of how that procedure will work. But we are thankful that the vaccination or negative rapid antigen test has been instituted for both 40 Morning and Grand Kadooment this year.
Okay, so that's wonderful news. I'm sure that your bouncers are going to be happy, that at least they get to work another event the next day after the jump up is finished.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of the jump up and the trucks and the whole logistics of it, for you, is it going to be a smooth transition from how we would be from, say, Queen's Park to Spring Garden, or do you see a few challenges along the way?
They're always unforeseen challenges, but we've done Juve type events outside of Crop Over before, which will be similar to what we're going to do this year. It was not along the traditional route. We are going to be working obviously with the Barbados Police Service and the Barbados Defense Force also to help protect the route. So we will be safe on the road. I think that the routes will be new, will be exciting, will be new for a lot of the members that have never seen some of these locations before and never have had activity in these locations. So we're looking forward to the new experience for sure.
Okay, let's look at Kadooment. That will also be relatively new, as we're not touching Spring Garden, but we're heading back to Warren's and we're ending at the stadium.
Yes. Well, I also already had as vice president of the Barbados Association of Masqueraders, and we, like I said again, we have been negotiating these things with the NCF. We have multiple routes on the table. But now we have come down to one route, which is what I think most of the band leaders would have been pushing for. It gives us a better opportunity to market Crop Over, market Kadooment, when we have that one route where we are all equally sharing the same space. And now that road is a nice stretch of the highway. Is again just like 4 day, new experience, new road. Most of the band leaders are very excited to try the road, see how it works. It is for this year. I believe that if things were to be normalized past post pandemic, that we would obviously be going back to our traditional route. But for this year, for sure, we're looking forward to that new route on the highway going up to the Buster statue.
Okay, and about how many bands do we have for Grand Kadooment on August 1st?
Confirmed right now, based on our association, we have 14 bands that are ready to go for crop over. My band would have been the first to actually launch, but you should be seeing a few more bands launching this week, and a couple more of them will be launching within the next couple of weeks.
Okay, so we are going to have a good season nonetheless, even though our numbers are down.
Well, numbers are down in terms of the number of bands. For some bands, it would have been a financial decision. It would have been lack of time to properly prepare for the usual type band. So for different reasons, some bands may have opted out, but for the most part, most of the bands are going to be present. And in the event that some of those bands that are not present, their revelers may seek to join other bands. So we're still looking for the road to be full of revelers who are coming out to experience this new road with us.
Okay. Are you concerned that the spectators won't get to be as close as before because we're going to be, sectioned off? Or you think it's a good COVID move?
We know that persons will want to, obviously, it's traditional, for Grand to bring out the little ones, the city bands passing and so on. So there will be catchment areas along the highway for persons to come out and view the bands. I don't think Kadooment is something you want to restrict from the public. I think it's something the public has to be involved in. Vendors, etc., persons that play their trade on Kadooment Day, there will be areas for those persons as well, as far as the negotiation and discussions with the NCF has gone so far. And there are going to be areas, like I said, on the road for persons to come see the bands. We're encouraging persons that are not in bands not to be on the road to intrude in bands. Through the pandemic, you want to be as safe as possible. The persons that are going to be in the bands will follow the protocols in terms of the vaccination or testing. And the persons that are not participating are asked just to use those catchment areas to view the bands and not to intrude on the road on Kadooment Day.
Okay, and on that note, Brian, I want to thank you. Here's to a great crop over, a safe crop over, and we're sure we'll be seeing more of you as head of the collective.
All right, thank you very much for having me this morning.
Have a great one. That was Brian Worrell. When we come back, we'll give you our social media buzz.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
We were talking crop over, but crop over is falling within the season of emancipation. And we are at what, May 4th already? Yes. So there's going to be a lot to do between now and the August month in terms of what the season of emancipation has to offer. Let's take a look at the calendar. There are a number of events and venues which you can feel free to check out. You can also log on to the Ministry of Culture's website, the NCF's website as well, and you will find details to all of these events. A number of them are free to you, the general public, so take them in. Some are also virtual, so just go and immerse yourself, and as we said with Trevor Marshall, be edified. The season of emancipation. Now, despite not attending the 2022 Met Gala, Barbados's Rihanna, the national hero, still managed to put a striking figure in the building. Although the 34-year-old singer, who's usually a stylist fixture for that annual event, is currently expecting her first child with ASAP Rocky, was not in attendance for this year's soiree. However, Vogue, the publication behind fashion's biggest night, made sure that they honored the stylish singer in the best way possible. They created a gorgeous marble statue which is housed in the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Yes, the statue of Irene, the personification of peace, is usually the highest profile marble goddess at the Met Museum of the Greco-Roman galleries. The goddess replica of Riri, which is now home, amounts over 30,000 works in the museum's collection of Greek and Roman art. So they have celebrated our very own Rihanna in the best way possible with a statue. Let's take a look at it.
Truth. There's beauty in truth.
Very own Rihanna. And just remember today to log on to the Central Bank's Facebook page at 11 and get a first look at our new polymer banknotes. Yes, they're launching today, this new series of notes, so you can join them there to see what it's all about on their Facebook Live and YouTube. Well, it's been a great Wednesday. It's the 4th of May. We're moving through the month rapidly already. Imagine that. Well, wishing you a wonderful Wednesday, and may the 4th be with you. I'm Wendy Burt.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning.